Hi everyone, let me just share with you a meta update on Dune Imperium Immortality. So I think it's been a while since I've done these videos. The reason I stopped doing them at such a high cadence is that I've seen how they impacted the meta and it is quite significant. So I've been trying to do this a bit more irregularly so let the meta stabilize a little bit. But I think I can talk about this now. We're halfway through season 2. And I think some players are doing this to some great degree of success. So let me just show you what they've been doing. So this is best from position 3. I think it can be done from other positions as well, but I think position 3, position 4 has the best chance of doing this. So first of all, right, the meta currently is early Sword Master. Everyone is trying to get early Sword Master, and this is amplified best by someone going to smuggling round 1 and round 2. Then after that, with their second action of round 2, they go to Sword Master. Okay, so this is mainly what happens. Other ways that people can get ahead of this is that people can pick like Handro. So if I pick Handro in first position, so let's say if I'm Handro in first position, I can come to Smuggle, and then I can use my Signet Ring to ship down, and then I can go to Wealth. Okay, this is something else that people are doing. Also pretty good. Because of the power of Swordmaster in Immortality. So other things that people are doing also is people are picking Yuna in the first position. Then they deny smuggling round 1. They try to get Wealth round 1 and try to get Wealth round 2. Then this also gets them Swordmaster. So these are, I think, some of the meta calls that are happening. Some people will ignore it entirely. So I mean, if everyone's fighting for it, then you do everything else cheaply. But I still think Swordmaster is very powerful. Like if you play more games, you realize how good it is. Okay, so how do you so I'll talk about one spot in the game that I used to hate. So I used to hate this spot, Conspire. Let me zoom in on it. So Conspire, when you pay 4 spice, right, you get 5 Solari, 2 troops, and an intrigue. So the reason I used to not like this, right, is that it used to be very hard to get it used to be very hard to get all 8 Solari by conspiring. So to conspire last time, right, like to conspire, what you had to do is you had to collect water. Then after that, from round 2, right, you had to collect spice. Then with your round 2 second faction, I guess you had to go to conspire. Right, and then after this, right, you still had to get another 3 Solari, right, because you only have 5 and then you still only need another 3. And how are you getting another 3? You're getting another 3 by hoping you draw a diplomacy into Wealth again. That gets you like 7, and then after you have to hope that someone gives you a Solari. In Rise of X, other people giving you a Solari by shipping up and down is not consistent. However, what has changed in Immortality is that people are smuggling up and down so often that you can always depend on someone giving you a stray Solari. So, if that's the case, if it requires all these specific actions, is it still good? My answer to that is that it requires all those specific actions, but there's something that will assist you along the way, and that is combat number 1. So I just review combat number 1 and just make it bigger. So there are mainly 2 types of combats early in the game. Ones that give you spice and ones that give you Solari. Most of them do, except one which is a bit odd. But I'll talk about that later. So let's say this is your combat entry, right? Or this is the combat for round 1. What you can do as player 3, right, is that you can depend on 2 Solari, right? You cannot depend on 3 Solari, but you can depend on 2. I think if you put enough troops in a good position, I think position 3 is a good combat position to put in the troops, right? Then you can kind of get what you want. So you want this 2 Solari because let's say if you have 1 naturally, you plus 2 and then you plus 5, that gets you to 8, alright? Or you can always play some other leader and hope that someone ships up and down, and then you can also get to 8. So how do you play out, let's say, this particularly? So you can play out this and I'll show you an alternate one for spice as well. Let me just change my color. Let me find out where the black ones are. I don't know where they get nuked. Okay, I'm not sure where they get nuked. Let me just load. Okay, so among the early few, right? Let me just put it out so that you can see. Okay, so there are 3 that give Solari and 3 that give spice, of which this is the odd one because this one only gives you spice for 3rd place, and actually you want the spice and not the water. So this is the odd one out. So let's just not really look at this. But 5 out of 6, which is pretty good, right? So most of the time, like 80+% of the time, you'll see something that works to your favor. So let's say if I'm playing, I need to find these yellow tokens. Let me just grab them. So let's say if I'm playing bees, right, or playing something in 3rd position, what I can do, let's say if I get the Solari ones first. So if I want to get to 8 Solari, right, on round 3, because let's say we presume that player 2 will ship up and down, and then he will get Swordmaster round 2. So if I can get it round 3 relatively efficiently and in position, I think that is great. So how do we do this? We first do this by counting how much Solari we need. So we get 1 from player 2, and then we can get another 2 from this. So we only need 5. So in this case, right, the optimal line to take is to do this round 1. So let's say round 1, I play my faction access. I need to pull out some of these cards. Not sure where they are. Oh, they're here, So action 1, I can put in one troop, right? Then I can always come to a city space or Imperial Basin on my 2nd action. Or I can also come to, in some cases I can come to into the Haga Basin, but most of the time you won't. Okay, so you can always come to a city spot, and then you can put in more troops if needed, just to secure you 3rd place. And you can put in up to 3 troops. Let's say you put in up to 3 troops and you just hope to get 3rd place. So let's say I put in 3 troops by going to, let's say, a city space. I can put in 4 even, but I think 4 is a bit overkill if needed. But okay, it might happen to be 4. Okay, if it's 4, it's 4. But you can put in anywhere between 1 to 4 to see how many troops you need to get at least 3rd place. And you can do this also because you can see the other 2 players act before you, so you also know how many troops you need to put in. Okay, so let's say if that's the case, I play my Signet Ring, right, round 1, and then I go to somewhere like Kartek. So this allows me to put a bunch of troops in. I get 2 Solari. Just change my color, get 2 Solari. Right, and on my 2nd action, right, on my 2nd round, 1st action I can play access. So now all the spice has increased. I can claim 4 spice. So I claim 4 spice. Then I can use my Sea Allies to go to Conspire. right? Everyone else, so then after when green chips down, he gives me a Solari. When round 3 comes around, I can always just play a Signet Ring or a Dagger and go to Swordmaster. With 3 greens in a deck, it should be highly likely that this happens. So, I mean, there are cases where you're not able to do this because your faction cards are stacked or yeah, they're either stacked or you draw them in your second hand. So, but let's say 50+% of the time, like this line is open. If it's not open, then you have to find some other ways to get to Swordmaster. But I'll just talk about this particular line where Conspire is good. So one reason why Conspire is good. So I'll talk about the spice one later. But why is Conspire good now? When last time you're just playing 4 spice for 5 Solari, that's what it felt like. One of the reasons why it's so good now is that getting these 2 extra troops is actually very significant. The reason is that players are fighting over the first combat very heavily, right? So people are deploying like 2 troops to get 3rd place, 3 troops to get 3rd place very often, and because a lot of these resources always turn into Swordmaster, and so if you don't fight for first combat, you kind of lose out on these early resources to get to Swordmaster. So that's why players are fighting over it a lot. Players are not going to city spaces because players need to play the experimentations, right? Players need to play the experimentation, so players are preferring to come to the spice spots. And players are preferring not to go to the city spots. Not that players don't go to the city spots, but I think there's a slight preference shift towards the spice spots. And so such, people are getting less troops. People are getting less troops, and if people are getting less troops, then getting these 2 extra troops actually is very beneficial. So you get to replenish your troops and get 5 Solari, both of which are very good. So other than getting Solari for Swordmaster, the troops are also actually a very important part of this. And also getting a bump in Emperor, which is generally not considered the most efficient things to do, is good as well. So all these things make Conspire a good spot in Immortality. Okay, so let me just talk about the other case. So the other case is that I need to draw them first. Okay, so the other case is that you need to get a spice. So you need to get at least 1 spice. If you get 2 is even better. Just put them here. So let's say if I need to get 2 spice, right? Instead of going to instead of going to still suits early, right? Your first action actually can be slightly different. Your first action actually can be to wealth, right? Your first action to wealth, then after that on your second action, right, you can either come and collect the spice, right? Or you can come and collect, you can come and collect spice, and so you can play like experimentation, like so you play diplomacy, then you play experimentation to collect enough spice to get to 4 spice, or you get spice through combat, right? So, or you can, if no one is going to the Haga Basin, then on round 2 you can always just collect 3 spice, right? Then you're 1 action free. Then on round 2 you get Conspire. Then you get Conspire. So then Conspire gives you another 5. Then the person who smuggles up and down will give you 8. And then on round 3 you can always go to get Swordmaster. So yeah, so this is how you play it if you have a spice combat round 1. Okay, so because of like how stable this meta is of player 2 getting smuggling up and down, you can kind of depend on that Solari, and even if you're at 7 and you can hostage that the Swordmaster, I think it's fine as well. If you're at 7 and no one ships up and down, on 3rd turn you can always play experimentation to here, or go to wealth, get the 2 Solari that you need, and then also get the 1 Solari that you need, and also get Swordmaster on your second action. So I mean, even if people don't give it to you, you have a path to it round 3 that's quite stable, and this all happens from 3rd position. So what leaders are best at this? The leaders are best at this. I'll say that actually any leader can do this, like because like you don't really need extra Solari, but sometimes the extra Solari does come in useful. But what actually is better, right, is extra spice. So let's say if I have an extra spice, right, this whole thing is not as restrictive, right? I do not need to collect water to come here to get spice, or I do not need to come here. Like I have more flexibility. I'm not blocked as easily. I don't really need steel suits. I can always just come to Haga Basin instead of the Great Flat. So what are the leaders that give you spice? The leaders that give you spice are actually Beast, Memnon, Elysia. So these are the three leaders that kind of give you spice. Elysia through a passive, Memnon through his ring, and Beast through his starting passive of 1 spice. So let's say if you have 1 spice to start it off, right? The whole thing is a lot easier. So let's say if it's a Solari, where's my other worker? I've lost my other worker. Okay, I am green. I am. I'll just use these two. Okay, so let's say, right, if I have 1 spice already, and if the Solari combat is revealed, what I can do, right, is that I can always just, okay, what I want to do is I want to collect 4 spice. Yeah, I want to collect 4 spice. So instead of having to come here, right, I can spend my first action to do other things. I can contact negotiator, I can put it there. Then on round 2, when it comes round, I can always just spend my 1 water, collect 3 spice. Alright, let's say I have 2, I get 3rd place here. Then round 2, I collect 3 spice from the Haga Basin, and then I can Conspire. Puts him up to 7, and this is the same position as before. Okay, then let's say if it's a spice one. So let's say I start with 1 spice, or I get 1 spice somehow, right? So now I need to get less spice, so I can go to wealth, get 2, right? And then if let's say I get 1 spice from combat, all I need to do is get another 2 spice, right? And I can get it from 2 spaces on the board, round 2, or maybe I can get it round 1 already, right? So let's say if I can get it. Let's say if I okay, bad example. Okay, never mind. I can always just get another 2 spice or 3 spice, right? And because there are less options, there are more options, and I'm blocked less easily, I'm more likely to be able to go to Conspire on round 2, get up to 7 once again, and then someone gives me 1 Solari from smuggling, or I can get it myself round 3, and I can get to Swordmaster. All good things. Okay, so that is why I think Elysia, Beast, and Memnon are actually pretty good in position 3 now, and it all comes down to Conspire. But this line can be taken from any leader. So you can play any leader from this position. It's a bit more restrictive, but I think the specific line is very hard to block, because all you need to do is get steel suits or wealth, right? And then after that, the rest of it kind of plays itself, because there are not too many spaces where people can come and block you. Maybe Haga Basin sometimes, but if you collect water, then you go to Great Flat, and no one can really block you unless they are playing Ariana, or they have a water intrigue, and then they have to collect 3+1 spice for 2 water, which is in some essence not efficient, but because you are getting Swordmaster, it's considered efficient. So, and then after, once you get the spice, Conspire is hardly blocked. So this line of play can be done from any player or any leader at position 3, and I've seen players doing well with it, with other leaders as well. Leaders like Ikas, for example. I think a lot of players, like, when you play Ikas, you kind of want Swordmaster, and this is one line they can take to get you to Swordmaster. The issue with Ikas with this line is that it's not, you don't manage to trigger your coordination off easily round 1 or round 2. So that's the only issue. Only issue I see with Ikas. I think ECAS players can work around this by, let's say if I'm getting Solari, right, they can work around it by getting Spice. No, they can't really do it. But I've seen people do it. I'm just not too sure how the exact mechanics of it is. But yeah, getting coordination off with ECAS is a bit hard with this, but it does get you your Swordmaster early. So I used to hate Conspire. Conspire used to be a terrible spot, and I used to hate it. But now I think that it is really good. I think it's really good if you can get Swordmaster round 3 with it. I think it is a good spot to hit to, and leading you to Swordmaster round 3 sets you up for quite a great start. You get back your 2 troops, you get 1 intrigue, you get Swordmaster. You didn't have to spend 2 actions to smuggle up and down. You could have played your experimentations as well. So you've done all efficient things to get you to Swordmaster, and it all works through Conspire. And so eat my words, and Conspire is good again. I'm sure Shadow and CJ will be glad to hear this. So thanks for watching this meta update. I hope it helped. Do chime in your comments and questions below, and I'll try to answer them. Shout out to I think a few players who have brought this to my attention. I think Midas and Pipi, I think they were the ones who really pushed for it. Like last season, they were playing a lot of leaders that I think were not seen as great, but because they were able to do this, their win rates with these leaders were a lot higher than like other players. So Midas, Pipi, I think maybe even Dinosaur 11 was doing it. Yeah. And I think some other players started to catch on as well. So, so Conspire is good, guys. Get your Swordmaster round 3 and be happy. Thanks for watching. See you around.